Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TB Scouting MMA and
The Guru back again for UFC Singapore. You've got Max Blessed Holloway taking on the Korean zombie Chan Sung Jung, possibly his retirement fight in Singapore. Unbelievable 5 a.m. start time here on the East Coast. Cannot wait for this card. TB will not be setting his alarm. I promise you, I will be, and I will be watching. So I can't wait. We've got before we can get into this card, and it's a doozy of a card. We brought a very special guest into the building. First time on the show, hopefully not the last. He's Action Network's HQ senior editor for MMA and boxing. Man, he's got a lot of stuff going on. He's worked for The Athletic, USA Today, MMA Junkie. I mean, he's been around the block. But first time on this block, baby. Dann Stupp in the building, sharp as can be. What's going on, brother?
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure. I always love talking about fighting and betting on fighting, so I can't have a better place.
Love that.
You definitely came to the right place then.
That's it. It's time for some conversations. But first, before we can get into that, the one thing that we will ask, if you could please leave a like on the video if you haven't already. It does a lot to help recommend this to other people and boost the algorithm in the feed. If you could subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already either. If you have, then great. Let's get down to business. Really appreciate everyone in the chat. Let us know what your best bet is. But here we go. We're blessed. We got Max Blessed Holloway versus the Korean zombie, Chan Sung Jung. And when they do the poster, it says the Korean zombie. So that's why I went with it. Let's do it. We got Holloway at -800. The Korean zombie at +550. And like the Guru so aptly spoke about, we got the retirement fight here for the Korean zombie. The over 2.5 at -215, the under 2.5 at +165. And I get it here. I mean, Korean zombie, he reached the apex, the title fight spot towards the end of his career, and he just came up short. It was really sad kind of seeing the aftermath in the octagon, but also big time respect. Korean zombie opening up a beautiful new gym, training with some other guys on this card like Sang-Woo Choi. I really think he still has a bright future in MMA. I just don't think he has a bright future in this fight. But the line's -800 for a reason, right? I think we all kind of understand that going in. But what I will say is my best idea in this fight is I know Max Holloway constantly goes the distance. I know he's the decision king. This is going to be the spot where I'm taking Max Holloway inside the distance. If Alexander Volkanovski is finishing you on the feet, and I get it, Volkanovski is really, really good. He's not the biggest finisher. And the zombie's speed just looks so shot at that point. And Max Holloway's putting it on Yair Rodriguez. So I think Max's speed and timing still perfectly fine. He's going to have the volume. I have him in a parlay. I got him at -700. Oh, good for me. I saved 100 points of line movement. But you got to put in your bets on Saturday night if you want to beat anything before the week starts. So now I think Max, though, you can still get him on Bet365. That's a -800 now too. So I got -700 in a 3-leg parlay. I'll drop the other legs as we come up. And I like the Max Holloway inside the distance. The under in this fight, I'm not so sure about the 2.5, but I definitely think Max is pouring it on and get him finished late. So Guru, what do you got here?
Man, anytime Max Holloway fights, I know I get excited. Max, one of my favorite fighters of all time. Korean zombie, a fighter's fighter, somebody like basically has a Hall of Fame resume. I believe, does he have a fight in the UFC Hall of Fame? I'm pretty sure he's destined to be there if he's not already. Just an excellent fighter, somebody that was at the top of the sport, a million main events, one of the first very successful, fighters from, from Korea, right? Obviously, in the, not necessarily the golden era, but like this later stage, the late 2000s, right? Just a pioneer in that respect. But in this fight, after such a long layoff, right? I mean, what's it been? It's been a year. It feels so much longer than that. Jeez Louise. Volkanovski just fights so often. That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, after a year away, you have to wonder what he's got left. It's a retirement fight. I like where you're going with the max in the distance. I just feel like it still took Volkanovski 4 rounds, and Korean Zombie's tough, and you're not just gonna you have to catch him, right? Or it's gonna be accumulation of damage. So certainly with Max Holloway on the table, I certainly think the latter with accumulation of damage. I kind of want to go back to Old Faithful, Old Yeller. I want to go to Max Holloway round 4-5 decision. I think maybe we get to championship rounds. I don't know that any time that Max has had an early finish. I mean, he took to round 4 to finish Ortega, late round 3 of Jose Aldo both times. You have to look back to his Charles Oliveira fight with a neck shoulder injury that is a round 1 finish. So I kind of like this fight to play out. The over 2.5 minus 215 is juiced, and I think that's fairly juiced. So I think you can parlay Max Holloway like to minus 1,000. Like he's clean to win, barring some sort of freak injury. And yeah, I'll take Max Holloway round with the 4-5 decision. I don't have a line on that at the second, but I want to hear what Dan has to say.
I don't hate that 4-5 decision play, but I'm glad you mentioned the Holloway inside the distance. I was actually leaning does not go to decision, partially because I think obviously that covers Max, but I think that covers all of Jung's win probability too. I think if I don't see him winning a decision in this fight. So it kind of covers you, with a haymaker or something crazy happening there. But I think a lot's been made of Holloway going to decisions. And I think that's kind of reflected in the line, but we haven't really paid attention to the fact that Jung, 4 of his last 5 losses have come via KO. And I know they don't come easily, but, Holloway's got what I love in a fighter, COD, cardio output durability. And I think with that combination against a guy like Jung, who just wears damage so badly, especially over a 5-round fight, I really, I don't hate the Holloway inside the distance, but I really like that that doesn't go to decision, because that covers you with kind of a miracle Jung play in his or KO or stoppage in his retirement fight too.
Yeah, I like that. And basically on DraftKings, fight goes the distance, and no, fight doesn't go the distance is minus 175, whereas Max Holloway by finish is minus 135. So you're giving up about 40 cents. But yeah, I think pick your poison. I think either way you're going to be right on that one. But it's a little safer not picking a side, especially if it's not all the way out to minus 200, right?
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on that one, Guru?
No, this is
fair enough.
Pretty clear cut.
Yeah, let's get down into what I at least predict to be a little bit more competitive matchup for at least as long as it lasts. We got our next fight, the co-main event. We got Anthony Lionheart Smith. Don't get him confused with Corazon de Leon from Contender Series this week. This is Anthony Lionheart Smith. And then we got Ryan Superman Spann. Spann coming in at minus 130. Anthony Smith at plus 110. Over 1.5 at plus 140. The under 1.5 at minus 180. I mean, Ryan Spann, 8 out of his 10 UFC fights have ended in the first round. So, fight doesn't start round 2. Even the 50-50 odds that it's at right now, just a typical Ryan Spann fight, you're probably looking at the right thing there. But Anthony Smith, going back and watching the Johnny Walker fight, and I'm realizing, he's not necessarily as bad as I thought. It's just, 1, he can't close the distance. And 2, Johnny Walker's just chopping his legs off. I'm looking back at the tape on Ryan Spann. I see a guy that's like, the incredible chin dude from like Fairly Odd Parents, like flying forward, just going into the pocket, looking to get into danger. And then in the grappling exchanges in their first fight, Anthony Smith is never in danger. Even when Spann has what seems to be solid top control, Anthony Smith's reversals on the ground. And as we see at the end of round 1 against Johnny Walker, when he still had somewhat of he had like 1.5 legs to work with at that point. He wasn't down to just 1. But he gets the takedown and he controls Johnny Walker for the final minute and a half to close out the first round. So I think there's a lot to still take out, that Anthony Smith still has some functioning ability. And anytime Walker thought about getting closer into the pocket, Smith let out like a combination, but he just didn't have the physical advantages to cover enough distance. Ryan Spann has already shown he's willing to be dangerous, and I think it's Anthony Smith time all over again. Anthony Smith round 1, that's where I'm leaning once again. But the plus money is probably just good enough. So what do you think you got going on here, Guru?
In this fight, I think we can safely predict that one of these guys is going to get a finish in the first 2 rounds. I think dart throws is a very smart idea, right? Playing the round 1 or the round 2 props. I do tend to like Anthony Smith in this spot. It's just like it's exactly what you said so appropriately there, TB. It was just the optics of how bad Anthony Smith has kind of looked in that respect. It's like his leg breaking versus Magomed Ankalaev, and he's just down on the floor getting pounded. Or again, the Johnny Walker fight, where really there's not a moment of the fight where he really looked like he had a chance to win or that he was in it. So those are bad optics. But you look at somebody like Ryan Spann knocks out Dominic Reyes, who has absolutely zero chin, and he finishes Ian Kudalaba, who was being, again, just literally gifted, overthrew a punch and gifted him a guillotine choke in one of the most comical, slip on a banana peel, ridiculous things you're going to do. So if Anthony Smith does lose this fight, I think he probably should consider hanging him up, because he's the durability aspect of them. Like, again, it's such bad optics. You don't think that he has the durability, but he actually does. Like, again, other than breaking your leg, freak injury versus Magomed Ankalaev, right? He goes to decision with Alexander Rakic. He survives 5 rounds with Glover Teixeira in a COVID fight where he won the first 2 rounds and then gassed out. It was like a whole thing. So, and again, Johnny Walker, remember, everybody and their grandma bet that fight doesn't go the distance at like minus 600, and they went to decision. So the difference is that Ryan Spann has no fight IQ as well. He's not afraid to get choked out, and he's really not afraid to be knocked out either. Whereas Anthony Smith has shown that durability. Ryan Spann has to outweather a storm and really hurt Anthony, I think, and I'm not sure that he'll be able to. Be very interesting to see Anthony Smith put out cold if he does. So I like Anthony Smith as a dog here, but it's a volatile fight to say the least. That's why it's so fun to book. What is it? Less than 2 years later? So makes sense. Run it back again. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm really torn on this side. I was hoping you guys could kind of convince me with a play, but I don't think either one of you have totally convinced me. Just there's so many like unknowns, and every time I start to lean one way, it's like, oh, but don't forget, I mean, it kind of really comes down to, I was going through Spann's record. He really doesn't have a quality signature win on his resume that you can really point to. But for me, the big concern is I just timing when to fade a vet. It's not easy. It's an art, but if you know how to nail it, like, you can make a lot of money kind of fading retiring guys and older guys. And I feel like Smith could be there, but you just have so many unknowns with a guy like Ryan Spann. It's hard to know. I initially came into this kind of leaning toward starts round 2 at minus 110. You rarely see that. I feel like maybe them being somewhat familiar with each other. But again, I could see, Spann blowing the fight in the first round just as easily as I could see Smith blowing out a leg or getting clipped, or just durability finally kind of going out the window. So I'm really torn. I have no strong read at all on this fight.
Yeah, I think Ryan Spann's cardio is also like a legitimate concern. Every time he gets in any extended like scrambles, right? Like he legitimately he tapped so fast against Anthony Smith. That happened way too quickly, and it's because he's breathing too heavy. He's getting in these really bad positions, and he's not, even with all this. Oh, he wasn't training until 2 fights ago. I mean, we still saw it in his last fight against Nikita. That was the one against Nikita Krylov. I mean, he's having some success scrambling, but he can't maintain top position. He doesn't get his hooks in right, and then when he gasses out and he's done, he is done. So I'm gonna go Anthony Smith here, but it's gonna be light. So here we go. We're on to our next fight here. We got a featherweight matchup. We got Giga Chikadze at -250 versus Alex Caceres at +205. I did it again, didn't I, Guru? Over 2.5 at -210. He hates me so much. I can't get Alex Caceres' name right. I got it that time.
Caceres.
Caceres. Okay. I don't know why I do it wrong every time. Bruce Leroy. That's what I have to do. We got the ninja. We got the ninja versus Bruce Leroy. They don't even need TB nicknames. This is like a great nickname matchup in its own right. So yeah, I think Giga here getting the proper time off from what ended up being an absolute beatdown against Calvin Kattar. I mean, at the same time, Giga Chikadze is putting up a pretty solid performance in the first round until he slips and falls and Kattar gets top control. That certainly like stays in the back of my mind, but Bruce Leroy, man, I don't trust him for offensive wrestling and top control. I think he's more of an opportunistic submission type of guy, and I think Giga Chikadze's got the grappling chops at this point to survive if there is a bad position, like the Sang-Woo Choi fight, perfect example. Giga Chikadze is finishing that without an illegal knee. And that's kind of where I came away after doing enough tape on Bruce Leroy here, is that Chikadze is going to be the more violent striker. He's going to be the better athlete, and he's got a lot more finishing potential. And he's still got the volume to back it up. And I think his grappling, like we saw in the Barboza exchanges, is dangerous in its own right, to where Caceres probably isn't safe from being submitted. How many times? The dude's lost by submission 7 times. I know he's improved. He's been in the UFC a long time. He came in real young. But I keep that in the back of my mind. But I just think Giga -250, it could look hindsight like he should have been lined like Max Holloway or something.
Yeah, I mean, if this fight stays at distance the whole time, you'd have to imagine that Giga is the more technical, more crisp, more accurate kickboxer with a higher pace. Not sure what he's been doing with all this time off, nearly 2 years. But
Yeah.
year and a half. But I interested to see what he's got working. Caceres doesn't really have a consistent offensive wrestling threat, so it's not really something that I'm worried about, which of course was the main concern versus Calvin Kattar there. So yeah, I like Iggy here. He should get it done. Part of me feels a little sketched out playing -250, but it should be safe. Alex Caceres has never been the guy that really rises to the occasion. Was kind of a prospect for a very long time, and then now he's just kind of a 35-year-old, UFC countryman type guy. So, Dan, what do you like here?
I like the underdog here. I think at 2-1, Caceres is the type of guy who he knows how to hang around. And like you said, he knows how to take advantage of opportunities when he gets them. I'm not sure against Giga you're going to get as many of those opportunities, but I don't know. It's just something about Caceres, the way he can kind of hang around, and especially if he gets this fight to the mat, I think that opens up a whole lot of opportunities for him. Again, I think he loses this one more often than not, but I think at 2-1 there may be some value there. But I'm especially paying attention to the under 2.5, like you said. I think Caceres can get submitted, and at +155, I think we're getting a nice payoff there. And then I was actually looking at Caceres round 2 and 3 at +1400, +1900. I think if he's going to get the stoppage, it's probably going to be a little later, and I think that's when he's going to get some opportunities. So I don't know. There's a few different ways to play plus money here with the underdog and the unders, and I think by the time we get to Saturday, I'll probably have fired off on a few of them.
All right. I respect that. Caceres, interestingly, great chin, only been knocked out the one time, but been submitted 7. I think the body shots could be the equalizer, if anything, and that's where Giga could find a finish, even if he's not working like the typical knockout. We've seen those the Giga kick come up from time and time again. But I like that under idea. I like that too. Kind of covers both sides.
If Giga gets a submission, I will do something crazy online for you guys. +6 Giga by Giga Chikadze by submission at +1600.
It's worth 0.1,
I guess so. I mean, my goodness. Did you imagine? But we've
Guru.
never seen him in any sort of position of top control. Like, what does that even look like?
Well, okay, go to the Barbosa fight. He gets some solid setups there from like a
All right. All
yeah.
right.
But go ahead, tell Dan. I'm not sure if he's too familiar with where we're going to find our our pocket change for these bets. What's our typical move here, Guru? When we
Oh,
find a plus
baby,
1600?
we're rating grandma's couch cushions, right? We're digging in there. She's never even gonna notice, man. This loose change falls right out of the pockets.
Yeah. So yeah, please don't risk your bankroll. So Giga didn't even make it into my parlay. So but I'm picking him to win. Shout out Brian XBL on Twitch. That's my official pick. And we got it's another minus 800. We got Rinya Nakamura. What is it? The Wolverine? Or no, hybrid. I'm sorry. Rinya hybrid Nakamura versus Fernie. He doesn't have a nickname. All right, so Fernie the Wolverine Garcia. There we go. Someone gets the Wolverine in this matchup. So Rinya Nakamura, we got the over 2.5 at plus 230, under 2.5 at minus 315. Everyone's seeing violence here. I agree. Rinya showed in his Kazama fight, he's willing to stand and brawl, especially if he feels like he's got the advantage. But he's giving up 4 inches of reacher. And Fernie, I mean, that dude's willing to trade in the pocket. So I think we're going to see Rinya's wrestling background. The dude is extremely proficient. And a lot of those knockouts are coming from ground and pound. So that's why I'm not too tempted to take like a Nakamura subline. Especially, Fernie seems to have a little bit, of experience in the grappling department with 3 wins there himself. But yeah, Nakamura should just be able to throw him around as long as he sticks to that game plan. I parlayed him with Max. I got one other leg attached to it. It's close to plus money. It's not quite, but I mean, this guy's getting a setup match. They're flying Fernie Garcia out to Singapore for a reason. He showed some clear deficiencies in the takedown game against Brady Heastant. I think Nakamura is going to have a better chin in striking defense and better offensive striking than Brady Heastant. So Rinya is my confident pick here. He's part of the parlay. Take him plus the under. But I will say, if anything, I'm being a little cautious because Fernie Garcia has never been finished. So what if we see some trickeration and this fight ends up going? Could you potentially see that, or am I crazy?
Ah, God, is Fernie really tough enough? I mean, he's a fairly tough guy that's never been finished. From what I've seen from Rinya Nakamura, his pace, his pressure, he just is hell on wheels, and it's his ability to swing unbelievably hard, decently accurately, but then also just have this really good wrestling pedigree and and ability to finish the fight that way. I mean, it's devastating. So you see why he's minus 800. I mean, his fight with a fellow card fighter Kazama, my goodness, what a 36 seconds that was, right? My goodness, I could watch that all day. So I expect Rinya to do Fernie dirty here. Fernie really has no defensive grappling, defense like that. That's going to be good enough to hang with Rinya here. And Rinya, hometown, home crowd, going to be fired up. I think he's as on a crazy card. I think it's him and Max Holloway is basically like should be locks of locks, man. I hate to say it like that, but what do you think, Dan?
I keep coming back to him winning by strikes, and if not on the ground, or if not standing, like you said, the ground and pound is so dangerous. And I think with I know Singapore is not the most wild crowd like an American crowd, but they know what they're watching. And I think when he comes out, they're going to be suitably pumped up. So I don't know. The Nakamura KO, I think it was minus 135, the lowest I saw it. I think you could play it a lot of different ways. Nakamura in round 1, or throw him in a same game parlay with some unders and stuff to try to get it closer to even money. But I don't know. For some reason, I just keep coming back to that KO. So I may take a little sprinkle on that and see if I'm right.
I like that. I'm looking right now. DraftKings, Wolf minus 165, but round 1 knockout plus 120, round 2 knockout plus 450, especially a guy that's never been knocked out on the feet and has good striking himself. I really think it's going to come by ground and pound, and maybe we do get to the second round to make that happen. Yeah, shout out our people in the chat. Shady, what's going on, brother? Happy to see you. Dirty Reg making a great point here. Play Fernie at least to hang tough for a while. Fight to start round 2 for sure. To my point, I mean, the over 2.5 is plus 230. So what's like a fight starts round 2 if we're looking at that? Because minus 120 could be interesting. Would love to see what the weigh-in looks like. Obviously, if Fernie looks terrible, yeah, that's off the table. But yeah, I mean, Rinya, he's part of the parlay. He should just make this happen. And like you said, that KO line, that round 1, and then if you throw like a little sprinkle on that round 2 plus 450, I think there could be a little value over there. Shout out Daz, what's going on?
Yeah, but and it's so interesting because all the finishing equity also seems to be on the Nakamura side as well, which is why I think you get such a heavy price tag. I don't think Fernie has really much of a chance at a finish.
Amen. So we move right along. Woo, we got a great matchup here. We got the flyweight. Is this a contender eliminator, Guru? Is this your classic title contender eliminator?
This is when Erin Blanchfield wins this fight, they're sending her right to the winner of Gross over Shevchenko. That's exactly what's happening.
Oh man,
so it is absolutely a title contender eliminator. And let's be real, they really want to eliminate Taila Santos from contention for a title, if you have to ask me.
Amen. Erin Blanchfield. Oh God. I guess this line didn't get adjusted. It's definitely not minus 298. Oh God, did I do this with everyone?
What did you do the pot? What are you doing? What are you
doing,
Skater?
I'm not gonna lie, I updated these at work earlier, like on my lunch break.
So you weren't paying attention what you were doing?
Well, I did the over and unders, so I'm hoping I just missed the line, like the actual line on this fight. Because I've remembered typing other lines and I look back and check. I think so. Anyways, Erin Blanchfield is minus 150. Taila Santos is plus 125. But maybe a little foreshadowing. Maybe this is going to be the TB special, the hindsight, the gift from the gods. Erin Blanchfield, like to Guru's point, if there's anyone that the UFC is trying to push in this spot, it's Erin Blanchfield. Taila Santos, where you been? Scamming and not paying your coaches and training with someone that is very clearly on lots of steroids in Brazil. Allegedly. Yeah, listen, Taila, you look to be TV. It is funny.
Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But Taila Santos, I don't trust that she's had the right training partners for this camp to prepare for someone like Erin Blanchfield. And the technical takedown ability, the scrambling, and even the development of the striking on the feet for Erin Blanchfield. Listen, she's given up 2 inches of height, 2 inches of reach, but she should be able to overcome that. She uses straight punches really well. She was popping the jab on Andrade. I think she gets into trouble where she's willing to stand in the pocket against someone with a speed advantage and the reach advantage like Andrade. But I think Blanchfield's actually going to have the speed advantage in this matchup on the feet. Taila's going to swing heavier, but she throws more like overhands and hooks to get the power. And I like like I said, the straight striking of Blanchfield. I think she's going to have success controlling, if not actually getting takedowns. I think she's going to be the stronger fighter in the clinch. A bit of leverage, being the smaller, like stouter fighter here. And I like she's on the upward trajectory. So give me Blanchfield. Thankfully it's not minus 298. I got minus 150 here on Bet365. And over on DraftKings, looking at a
minus 148.
Yeah, so it's worth it still at this point.
I tend to agree with your analysis here. You do have to wonder where Taila Santos has been, who she's been training with. It's tough to pick somebody whose claim to fame is laying on top of Valentina Shevchenko for 2 rounds over a year ago, right? So, and especially like how that whole thing happened, she's getting controlled against the cage. Valentina goes to try to throw and whip her down, and Valentina makes another grappling error and just winds up with Taila Santos on top, and then Shevchenko completely unable to get up. That's what we saw. And then later in the fight, you see Jason Herzog stand up Taila Santos because she's on top and doing absolutely nothing with it. I think if your game plan, if Taila Santos, if you're trying to sit there and control Erin Blanchfield, I think that's a really tough game plan. you look at the Tracy Cortez fight. I mean, it doesn't exactly. It's not exactly something easy to do. And Tracy Cortez is probably the best wrestler, and other than Suarez in women's MMA. So I really like Blanchfield in this spot. She's the more active fighter. They've honestly, to me, felt they almost similar levels of competition. So I'm taking Aaron. I understand the price tag. Be very interesting to see this fight. I honestly think it's gonna play out pretty fucking close. I kind of like maybe a grandma's couch cushion on like a split decision type prop. I don't know what the Singapore judges. Do we know anything about these guys? What commission are they? Are they like who are they flying? Are they flying Adelaide Bird out there? So she's gonna be all fucking
oh god, jet lagged Adelaide Bird.
Exactly right. Like what are we gonna have? Exactly. Doug Crosby. Like it's not gonna go well. So Dan, what do you think in this title contender eliminator matchup?
I started the week really liking Santos, and I have completely done a 180 to Blanchfield. I thought Blanchfield was overrated a bit, or maybe the lines were not right. Kind of the win over an overrated McCann, and then the Jessica Andrade fight, which I thought that was just kind of a bad fight for Andrade, and it's like, okay, I don't want to put too much value into that, but like you said, the Shevchenko fight, I think people are putting too much value in that. Oh, she was almost champion. But like you said, it was a really weird way that she was winning rounds. And it's not necessarily that she outclassed her. She just kind of, I don't know, like outmaneuvered her. I don't think it's necessarily replicable. So no, I've really leaned toward Blanchfield in the past day or two. And I think, we're also seeing such improvement from fight to fight that we really haven't, I don't think that's necessarily baked into the line. And then, it's such a simple thing, but I just think she's going to be busier and have more output. And at the end of the day, that wins you rounds, especially in women's MMA. So I don't know. I think the line's starting to swell, but I think there's probably still value there till about 170, 180.
I agree. When you look back at some of Talia Santos's wins, right? She's beating Roxanne Modafferi and Joanne Wood. Like she's doing it on the ground. I don't know that you're just going to be able to lay on top of and choke out Erin Blanchfield, especially without somehow rocking her on the feet first. My thought is that these two grapplers have a fight that completely plays outstanding. That's my thought. And who's the better striker? Who's the quicker striker? I think that's Erin Blanchfield. And I think you saw that when she picked apart Jessica Andrade. Anything to add, anybody?
I like
that was a nice
one. So my last thought here, I'm sorry, I thought you still had a little more, but my last thought here is you brought up a schedule of competition thing, and I like that. So let's take a look at like the last 3 wins for each opponent here. So Jillian Robertson, unanimous decision. Roxanne Modafferi, unanimous decision. Joanne Wood, round 1 sub. Oh, go back one more fight before that. Tyler Santos has a Molly McCann, unanimous decision. What did Erin Blanchfield do to Molly McCann? Oh my God, the mounted crucifix, and then the crazy armbar. Blanchfield has a way of just. She is cold. It's cold-blooded, right? That's her. She's not Jersey girl, as I like to say, but cold-blooded Erin Blanchfield is going to show Tyler what it's all about this week. So I'm going to throw down on that line that we got right now. I know it already slid, but I had to do the proper research. So here we are. Shout out Camber in the chat, Muay Thai in Singapore, Dirty Reg. Appreciate you. Love Blanchfield here. Yeah, they are legit prospects. I think Blanchfield's got this one though, like you're saying. Yeah, FOMO bet exactly. Got to do it.
I like the idea of parlaying here. Erin Blanchfield and the over 1.5. I don't know how this is on Bet365. They're somehow offering me plus money on that.
Wow.
So plus 105, Erin Blanchfield and over 1.5. I'm going to take a taste of that right now on air for a unit. So that's played and done because I don't see an early finish.
You know what? I got a beef because fucking Bet MMA won't let us put over 1.5, whatever combos. Dan, we've been talking about it, and I think you're the man that we need to consult on this. Action Network. what are we missing out from a third-party tracking perspective here?
Well, we've got submissions and KOs now, and
Okay.
goes to decision and doesn't go to decision. You can obviously kind of manually parlay like a KO with a round
Okay.
one finish. So we're getting there. And then
Okay.
I was just talking to the tech guys today. We had a few little bugs in there, but they've redone it for this weekend, so everything should be operating. So yeah, no, I've used the Action app, I think, since probably the first week that they launched. Before I worked for the Action Network, I was just a pro subscriber and I'm still a big app user. But no, I was so excited once we start getting submissions and KOs in there to track too. So no, we're coming along, and I know MMA is going to be a little bit more of a priority with the Action Network now. Traffic's really been crushing it the past few events. So I think you're going to see more bells and whistles added.
I like that. Getting the inside look here. If you guys didn't know, Dann Stupp, one of the originator of the MMA Junkie, and then now the senior editor over at Action Network. So really one of the guys that behind the scenes in this game for a long time, and like being able to share his opinion out here with you folks today. Really hope you guys are taking in what we're getting here. Been awesome so far. So without further ado, please make sure you do the right thing. It costs you nothing. Please like the video if you haven't already. Please subscribe. It means a lot. It helps us out. We're so close to 500 subscribers. Please help us get there. It would mean the world. You guys are the best. So
You got to change that bird to like some weird X thing.
Oh God, X. Follow me on DX Chop.
Oh my God, he's such a weird guy.
Oh yeah. Oh, me, right? Yeah. Not
No,
Junior
yeah,
Top,
you and Elon, you guys are basically the same person.
Fair enough. Well, I probably have higher T than Elon.
I don't know about that.
God. All right. So
he drives a Tesla, bro.
That's fair. So anyways, all right, we got Junior, brother of Justin Tapa, and Parker, brother of Porky Porter.
He's the juggernaut, by the way. Your junior.
What are you talking about? Parker's tits? Or
Jesus Christ. Junior
right,
the
so anyway,
juggernaut.
Jesus.
Tapa
I shouldn't be
Parker.
throwing.
Yeah, and Parker Porter looked good in his last fight against
he did.
Braxton
That's an old
Steroids
photo.
Miller.
I mean, but look at those bad boys in that picture, though. I mean,
oh
okay.
My God.
All right. So, anyway, sorry. I shouldn't be throwing stones, glass houses, and everything. But Junior Tapa at -142. This is going to be another hindsight gift from the gods. Parker Porter faced a refrigerator on steroids last time out. That guy did not have takedown defense, grappling defense. He didn't have anything besides just wailing overhands. And like Parker Porter was like this close to catching one on the chin. And Junior Tapa has like at least like a little bit more educated approach. And like he showed that he's not just going to give up. I think we learned that. And Parker Porter's not quite Muhammad Usman. I know he's been hitting the gym, but unless a few other things have been going on I didn't know about, I think Muhammad Usman is going to hindsight look like, oh my God, like that guy actually has some legit athleticism and top control in wrestling. Tapa, I think, is going to be able to deal with the athleticism and the takedown entries of Porter. Uppercut, left counter hook, fading away on the entry. I think Parker Porter is, looking at
the takedown entries of Parker Porter. The takedown entries of Parker Porter are, I'm coming for you. I'm coming to grab those titties. Here I come. That's it. Like you can see it coming a mile away. Junior Tapa is explosive. He's a strong, well-rounded kickboxer, and he nearly killed Muhammad Usman 600 times in that fight. A lesser ref stops it. So good job on the ref not stopping it. Muhammad has unbelievable training partners, by the way, with his former champion brother. Football background, way more athletic than Parker Porter, way bigger than Parker Porter, and had to work at a much higher pace than I think Parker Porter's used to working to. And he had to fight much longer than Parker Porter's used to fighting. When you're now able to take down Alain Badeau, I don't really have much credence in terms of your wrestling pedigree. So I took Junior Tapa here. I think and I look forward to seeing Parker Porter on the canvas. Sorry, buddy. Dan, what do you think?
I loved Tafa this week. I'm so glad to hear you guys also like that play. I was thinking I like the under 1.5, but I really think it probably just comes back to Tafa inside the distance. I really don't see kind of where Porter is dangerous here. You know, I don't think he's not Usman. He's not going to be able to take him down and stay on top of him like that. And like you said, the uppercuts, the body shots. I just think anytime he comes in close trying to grab him, he's gonna pay for it. So I like Tapa. I like inside the distance.
100%. Exactly like you said, Dan. He's not somebody, even when he gets his little bit of wrestling going, he's not somebody known for consolidating top control. Junior Top is at least athletic enough to, try to push for butterflies and do something. So I don't like Parker Porter here in this spot.
Amen. Let's ride, boys. We got some collaboration there. I like that. On the same page. We're moving right along.
It's almost like we had like a conversation about the fights, and then we got to a place where we all kind of agree. I like that. We should do a show or something.
Yeah, we should look into that. Where's Waldo? Cortez Acosta versus Lucas.
He's in Singapore.
Oh, okay. Versus Lucas the Bull. How the hell is it not Dresska? I guess that's how it works. So it's where is he from again? Because that's got to be like the BRZ. We get the D.
Poland.
So that's also where we have Krzyzewski. So I'm just not there's something I'm just not fully understanding from how the vocabulary works from like a spelling perspective. Because I was calling him Bresky and like the first time
they have a different alphabet, so it's just stupid.
Exactly. Well, it is what it is, but basically it's not like me with my Corazón de León where I'm like in all my, vibes. Like this is different. I'm having a tough time basically.
And we've had our language conversation for the episode. So thanks you all for tuning in for that one. So now we can talk about the fight.
Hell yeah. So Salsa Boy, Salsa Boy. He's trying to dance here on Dresska. Coming off of
he froze. How bizarre.
What? How bizarre?
You froze.
Oh no, I froze. I'm back. So that's what's going to happen to Lucas Dresska this weekend. No, I think Cortez Acosta really isn't too liable to find a finish on anyone. Dresska's shown some legit, survivability, facing some real guys out there. And I think like Carl Williams has a lot better wrestling than Cortez Acosta. Had a lot better striking. I feel like aggressively than Cortez Acosta. So I like Cortez Acosta as I guess to win the fight as an official pick, but there's nothing confident in me needing to have money on him at all. I like the fight goes the distance.
I just don't really like Dresska here. It's really more of a fade on Dresska than it is any sort of real love of Cortez Acosta, right? I mean, the problem with Cortez is what? Like, why did he lose his last fight? Because he's eating a million calf kicks from Marco Rogerio de Lima, and de Lima is one of that calf kick is so hard and massive, so that's a really, really tough thing to try to deal with, and he beats lower guys in Chase Sherman and Jared Vandera. So I just think that like when you watch Dresska, he's like, first off, he has this picture of him is fucking hysterical because he looks absolutely it's a complete catfish because he got popped for steroids and has looked nothing even remotely close to that ever since. I just don't, when you see him lose to Carl Williams and Badai, right? Badai's a much bigger guy than Cortez Acosta is, and he's just kind of holding up against the cage there. And then Carl Williams has to take him down. I just think that Cortez Acosta is just going to outpace him because Dresska, all he can do is hope for a finish in round one. And I think Cortez Acosta is tough as nails. So I like Cortez Acosta by decision. What I really like is not having to play a side. The over 2.5 is -145. You already talked about the fact that Acosta basically doesn't have much finishing equity. And again, he's tough. And I mean, he's been finished twice. Once. Sorry, he's been finished. No times. I'm looking at Tapology, which has boxing KOs. I apologize. He has finished 0 times in MMA. Tough as nails. Don't think Dresska does it. So when a fight goes the distance lines opens, I have a feeling it's going to be very close to even money, if not plus money. So I'll also be playing that. Give me a slot fest. Give me a boring 15-minute slot fest. Dan, what do you think?
I was just going to say, I love sloppy heavyweight overs. You can make a lot of money betting on, and I like it here because kind of like you guys talked about, these guys are fairly durable. They go to decisions even when they get kind of beat up. They still hang on enough. So it's all the stuff you love to see in a heavyweight over. Guys who aren't super skilled, guys who have inconsistent performances but have decent cardio, have decent durability, have proven when things get sloppy, they're willing to just kind of hang on, buy time, get to the end. So yeah, I saw that over 2.5 at -145, -150. I love that. If we can go to decision at close to even money, even better. So yeah, I think if you're taking a side, it's probably dog or pass, but I'm still not impressed with Dresska. But I love that over and doesn't go to decision. I think this one's going to play out for a while, and it's not going to be the most exciting fight, which is great for our bets.
When that'll make the fight exciting because I'll just be sitting there shouting, "Come on, guy, you got to fight!" Man, it feels really good when somebody like Dann Stupp agrees with my play on that. My goodness, that just sheesh, I'm excited.
And so I will say one thing, looking into like Cortez Acosta obviously sucks at defending leg kicks. I mean, Dresska throws him, so he's gonna hold him accountable. It could be closer than
he's
expected.
got no cardio,
right? But he also landed over 100 strikes against.
Because he landed 80 of them in round 1 because he goes fucking apeshit and then falls off a cliff. And like I said,
he lands 47 in round 1, 43 in round 2, and 34 in round 3.
I don't know. We'd have to look at the leg kick breakdown and stuff like that too.
So leg kicks, he lands 18 out of 22 against Budai, and then Dresska lands on the time they're on the feet, which wasn't long. He lands 2 against Carl Williams, and against Dylan Potter, he lands 10 out of 16. He'll throw him.
Dylan Potter, I just don't think the power is there. I think Cortez Acosta is kind of just used to dealing with them.
And like all three of us talked about, the real play on this fight is the sloppy goes the distance. So we agree on something.
I'm glad you mentioned that Potter fight. What a ridiculous fight where it gets overturned for steroids, and it's a submission that was not a submission. The ref is just fucking off his end or something.
So. Who doesn't love steroids? But Lucas Dresska actually looks in better shape.
What kind of photo is that? That's fucking creeping me out, dude.
This is Sherdog. I go with whatever picture Sherdog has.
Why?
Because they fit nicely into like the generator here, like my my little template. Like the size is nice. Anyways,
nobody's ever said that to you.
Nobody's ever said that to you. Yeah, exactly.
To you.
So flipping it. Yeah. I seriously thought Dresska, if he didn't visibly look so gassed, he outstruck him in multiple rounds. So anyways, Toshiomi Kazama versus Garrett Armfield. From a nickname perspective, we got to go off the rip. So I'm going Godzilla versus Grandma's Armchair.
No, it's silent finisher Toshiomi Kazama.
They don't have it on UFC stats, so
but he's the silent finisher. It's his Instagram handle. He's a silent finisher.
So the silent finisher versus Grandpa's Armchair, Garrett.
And since when did fuck Tapology? If I wrote it in our notes, it's his nickname.
All right, fair enough. Well, UFC stats generally they have the official nickname when you don't write it in there. So
okay, well he got knocked out.
You did
in 30
write it
seconds.
in there,
they didn't update his fucking profile because he got knocked out in 30 seconds.
They didn't care enough.
Nope.
Toshi, what you doing, man? He's out. They're back in Singapore. We got Toshiomi Kazama on the card. He's at +145. Garrett Armfield, they're flying him out to Singapore for this matchup. It's -175. The over 2.5 is +120. The under 2.5 is -150. I'm predicting some violence. Kazama likes to get into it in the pocket, and he's happy to grapple. That's bread and butter, I'd say. But the issue is he'll get a little bit caught on bottom at times, get controlled at times, but he has some slick reversals and ways to move about. Garrett Armfield back at 135, but I got to see what this guy looks like on the scale flying around the world, because first he makes his debut on like a couple days notice, fighting up a weight class against David Onama. Now they're like, all right, thanks, Garrett. You did that. All right, great. Now, how do you feel about flying out to Singapore on a couple of, like you're not coming, you can't afford to come out too many weeks in advance, but what do you feel about coming out to Singapore and making something happen against Toshiomi Kazama? So I got to see what he looks like out there. And honestly, Armfield has some solid wrestling ability. It's just, he can leave himself in some interestingly bad positions. And I can't really take juice here. So I need to see what weigh-ins look like in the face-off before I make like the official, like, what's my Tapology pick. So if you really got to find out, I generally post what my official Tapology picks are. Brian XBL on Twitch, that's where he goes. So you need to know, but I'm leaning towards the hometown kid here. Kazama, but Guru, do you have a stronger thought?
Listen, not necessarily. I felt like you I thought you were saying you were on Garrett and then said that you were on Toshiomi. I like Kazama here, at least as a lean. By the way, I don't see plus 145 available anywhere. I got plus 140. It's like plus 136. So I just felt like this was a fairly even fight with a lot of volatility on both sides. And I get a guy that's not traveling around the world. So, like you said, Garrett Armfield snatches defeat from the jaws of victory versus what's his name, Vogel, who's fighting next week on
Jared.
I mean, no, not fucking idiot. What's his fucking name? Matteo Vogel, not Fogel. Jared Fogel. This is Matteo Vogel. Anyway, Matteo Vogel fighting on Tuesday for Dana White Contender Series. He's getting the piss beat out of him by Garrett Armfield. And Garrett makes the worst mistake you could possibly make. Just completely gives up his bag, gets flattened out and choked out for, really zero reason. Fight the hands, do something. It was a really, really, really bad look. And Kazama, somebody with 5 career submission wins. We didn't get to see anything from him last fight other than he's hell on wheels, batshit crazy, and didn't take a punch he didn't see very well. Like, okay, but he fought Nakamura, who's now a minus 900 favorite, 700 favorite. Like, we understand that it was not really a fair matchup. We actually understood that going in as he was a fucking minus 600 favorite in that fight anyway. So I give Kazama a puncher's chance here. So I'm taking a coin flip. I'm taking a plus 140 dog. So give it to me. And unless, of course, I reserve my right to switch, of course, if I see something at face-offs, weigh-ins I don't like. But why not take a dog? And again, what I think is basically a coin flip fight. Dan, please.
Now, I'm kind of torn on this one. I was initially leaning Armfield just because, Kazama, I don't know. Neither one of these guys, if you go and look at their records, there's really nothing special on there. There's no quality wins. The legit guys they fought, it hasn't gone well. I initially was leaning Armfield, but I think he's probably going to fade heavily after the first round. So I don't know if maybe you play the props there. And I don't know, Kazama may be a good option for kind of that round 2, round 3 prop I like to play a lot. And kind of spread it there. But yeah, I just don't have a good read on this fight. And the more, I think about it and the more opinions I hear, the more I'm kind of pushed away from Armfield. So I'm just not feeling this fight.
I kind of just like violence in general. I mean, obviously, I think it's fairly juiced with the, actually under 1.5 is plus 135. That's actually not terrible. Obviously, of course, you'd love to see him under 2.5, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that, like you said, I think Armfield's cardio is suspect, and Armfield has finished all of his pro wins. So if you even remotely think that the favorite's going to win here, he's going to get a finish. And I think the dog is also live for a finish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. I did these lines at 2:30 today on my break, and we've seen Kazama go from plus 145 to plus 136, and we saw it go from under 2.5 minus 150 to under 1.5 plus 135. There's been a lot of movement on this fight towards a Kazama finish. Does that tell you anything?
Just that people are probably seeing what you guys are seeing.
There you go. Fair enough. Fair enough. So here we go. We are moving along here. We got Chidi Bang Bang and Jokuwani versus Husa Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Didn't it used to be Lord? They definitely changed it. It's the UFC stats has got it crazy now. It's Husar. But anyways, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk going to be 6 years younger, but he's giving up 3 inches of height, 6 inches of reach. Chidi and Jokuwani at minus 108. Oleksiejczuk at minus 112. I mean, this fight, I was going a little bit back and forth on who I thought would kind of come away here, and I think Oleksiejczuk's biggest issues in the UFC have come from fighting at too big a weight and from facing people that are able to grapple or wrestle. That is, Chidi, I don't think necessarily poses those problems, and I've seen him quit for like other reasons. I think Oleksiejczuk's body shots could be categorized under other reasons. Oleksiejczuk getting in the pocket here and working body head combinations, and Chidi's backwards movement, I don't love it so much. I feel like both guys are going to be willing to meet towards the middle, and that's going to take away some of Chidi's range. And if we see the tentative Chidi that we see in his last fight against Albert Duraev, I think that even plays more into Oleksiejczuk on the front foot and getting Chidi to ultimately kind of give up here. The under 2.5, probably parlayable at minus 250, but I feel like Oleksiejczuk at minus 112. I mean, give me Oleksiejczuk plus money. Let it keep sliding. I'll wait. Oleksiejczuk is the pick here.
Yeah, I'm all over the place on this fight. Not really one that I love. I do lean Oleksiejczuk. I think he's got the faster hands, and in a fight where, yeah, Chidi and Jokuwani does have a significant height and reach advantage, he's just not the guy that really utilizes that reach at all. His power comes from fucking knees and elbows, not from his 80-inch reach. So it's just not really beneficial when that's the type of fight you're going to get into with Oleksiejczuk. Call me crazy. Did they flip the line? I think you flipped the line. Yeah, you flipped the line as per usual. No, I'm just kidding because you did it earlier. They flipped the line. You've got over 1.5 at plus 110, and I think that's kind of how I want to play it. 7 minutes goes really fast. And I think that if Oleksiejczuk does find the KO, I think it's a round 2, round 3 KO. And I don't think that Chidi's going to find a finish per se. So, because Oleksiejczuk's big problem is being held down on the ground and then choked out. And while Chidi does have one submission win, I just don't really give him much of a chance to do it here. So give me over 1.5 at plus money, and I'll be biting my ticket. Maybe I'm crazy. Dan, tell me, am I crazy?
I don't think you are. I'm kind of along those lines too. I'm not a big live bettor. By the time the fights get there, I just want to sit down and turn my brain off and watch some sanctioned violence. But I think this one's really ripe for kind of a live play after round 1. I think Chidi's probably going to be spent after that first round, but I think he can probably keep it somewhat close. And I think, I'm okay taking Mikhail, near even money before, but I think we get an even better price after the first round. And, I think this is one of those two. I'll probably be looking at round 2, round 3 props just as kind of cheaty. fades down the stretch. And like you said, we've seen him sometimes maybe not quit, but, slow down or just be too willing to eat stuff or just kind of drop his game plan and go with the flow. And I think against a guy like that's a recipe for disaster. So, like I said, I like Mikel after round 1, and I'll be looking at round 2, round 3 props. I think this one probably stops, or one of the guys gets a stoppage at some point. I think it's probably going to be Mikel.
Yeah, I like that. Fight to end by KO could be interesting, but as Dirty Reg says, won't have to worry about the sub from either guy on this one.
I'd like that. Yeah, that's interesting too.
Yeah, it's probably lined at like minus 220, but
man, they can't get these props out by Wednesday night, man. Like, we
so-
gotta wait till Thursday afternoon for this shit. Friday.
It's crazy. And okay, so the other thing, like, point being made here about how the lines are changing between what we see now, what we see earlier, like DraftKings is like so soft with what they're opening. They're only putting out the over unders. They're seeing what's being hit, and they're even changing that before they open up the rest of the props. So shout out to DraftKings for being terrible alone.
But most books don't really open. I think they're really, especially in MMA, I really think that they're really afraid to open up and lose a large chunk of something.
All right, we got Song Kenan versus Rolando Bedoya. The Assassin versus the Machine. It's great nicknames, guys. You chose good.
Sounds like a terrible kung fu movie.
Yes, exactly. Song Kenan plus 275, Bedoya at minus 345. Over 1.5 at minus 200, the under 1.5 plus 154. Bedoya going to be 7 years younger, giving up an inch of height, but he's going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. I think he's going to be the much faster, more fluid fighter. He's got more ways to win. He's got grappling. He can stuff takedowns. Not that like Kenan is really a threat for that. And he's also, I know his striking defense isn't necessarily like the best from an optical perspective, but I will say he rolls with some stuff okay, and he seems to have just like one of those incredible like chins, just a cheater. And I think he's going to be the one landing first, and then maybe not second, but he'll also land like third and fourth against Kenan, and I think he's going to be able to find a finish regardless. I parlayed him with Max Holloway and Rinya Nakamura when Bedoya was still minus 250. On Saturday night, if you want to beat the steam on the juicy parlayed favorites, you got to do it Saturday night while last week's fights are still happening. So altogether, that brought me to like minus 122, minus 700, and minus 345 for the minus 250 for the 3-leg parlay. Chalky, yeah, delicious.
Listen, but you got to do it. Desperate times call for desperate measures. We're out here in Singapore. It's a really tricky card with some crazy lines and a lot of volatility. So, yeah, I think Bedoya, what he showed versus Chaos Williams, first off, he's tough as nails. So, really, the only shot that Song Kenan even has is his knockout power. And he really just he hasn't done that in so long. So, it's just not something I really fear. You can't hate his last loss to Ian Gary. What a randomly weird matchup that was. Hey, he even dropped Ian for a second there. Yeah, I really like Bedoya to get it done. And I don't know. I like Bedoya and parlay that to over 1.5. I don't believe I have a line yet, but that's exactly where I'd like to go with this fight, because Bedoya is a bit of a decisionator himself, and Song Kenan is fairly tough when he's not getting slapped by Max Griffin. So give me Bedoya and over 1.5 parlayed when I get a line. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd like that play. With the Bedoya line's kind of getting a little out of hand at this point. So if you didn't get the best of it earlier in the week, it's probably gone. But man, I'm looking at Kenan's record right now. He does not have a single name win on his resume. Everyone he's I mean, he's fought some tough guys, Morano, Riddell, I think in his second pro fight. And he's lost all of them. You know, the one thing for him, like you said, he's fairly tough. But even his recent losses have been stoppages. But I think this fight's probably safe enough. Bedoya is a fun guy to watch. I think maybe he's a little overvalued. You know, I think people are maybe looking at the loss to Chaos Williams and maybe putting a little more stock into it, thinking that that's definitely going to translate to UFC success. But I think we could have a bit of a sloppy fight here. I think it's Bedoya's fight to lose. And like you said, I could see this one easily going over a round and a half.
Yeah, I think this is one of those sketchy fights where the favorite might not necessarily find the finish, but it should be clean in getting the decision, unless you got Adelaide Bird on, you know, like we talked about, jet lag. So that could be dangerous.
They shifted the over market again. They have over 2.5 now at minus 120.
See, that's what I'm saying. DraftKings, they're being sketchy, man, because this was literally a matter of a few hours.
Yeah, I'm sure they take a lot of action on it, and then they don't want it. They don't want that price, or they decide. Yeah. You know what? They probably put a line like that to see what they're gonna get hit with, and then I think they just adjust to a more even number because minus 200 is such a wide number. They really like it much more even.
They're gonna drop all their props, and then you'll be able to play alternate overs and all that.
Of course, that's the best part.
Yeah.
Once they.
So anywho, on to our next one here. We got Binigov versus Yusaku Kinoshita. Billy the Kid versus shout out Dan Levy from Best Fight Picks. He's the one that came up with the nickname. We got the Japanese Connor, Yusaku Kinoshita. So I think Billy Goff has a really bad habit, and it's getting punched or kicked directly in the face, like immediately in all of his fights.
Yeah.
And continuing to have that done to him. I mean, to the point where like his, you know, one of his losses was like because he had gotten beaten so badly that they had to do a doctor stoppage, you know, like it wasn't that he got knocked out, but you can't play that game against Kinoshita. Adam Fugit, until the Mike Malott fight, had proven that he could take a few. And he even survived for a bit against Mike Malott. I think Kinoshita was facing a much bigger fighter with much longer reach in his first matchup, making his UFC debut, and he landed some dirty boxing combos to start off on some counters, and then lands this flush head kick, and then you kind of see it in his face. He's like, "What the?" He's like, "This has knocked out guys before," and instead, Adam Fugit is taking that leg, raising it up, going for a single. Like Billy Goff isn't gonna take the kick and catch; he's gonna eat it to his face and get knocked down. That's the difference here. And I think Goff is going to take time to get warmed up and actually make things happen on his end. And this is not the right guy to do that against. I think Kinoshita is a special finisher in his own right. And I think that debut fight is just going to be like one of those scratches on the record, but it keeps on moving the line even closer. So I took it at like minus 142 on Caesars, but now we have minus 135 on DraftKings. Did they change it since earlier today? No, it's still minus 135. But yeah, I like Kinoshita here and pretty confidently. I think this is another one of those hindsight plays. What do you got going here? I feel like Billy Goff is one of those popular dogs this week. What are you thinking, Guru? You going against me?
I've been all over the map on this one, and I really can't wait to hear what Dan has to say. Like I said, I've been all over the place. Billy Goff has the wrestling advantage, and Kinoshita is gonna have the size advantage. It just really comes down to who has the better striking, and I really do think that might be Kinoshita. So I'm gonna pick him, and Kinoshita might be the quote unquote local guy, but he's been training out of Killcliff FC, so he's gonna have to be taking a very far journey. I mean, I would assume that he's probably used to that kind of trip more or less, but he is going to be making the trip. And then Billy Goff, you know, I don't really know exactly where he's training out of per se. It's like he's training out of his like this smaller gym, the Rough House, Team Dexter Valley Toro. So I don't it's a smaller gym. I don't really know that he's getting the looks. He's certainly not getting the looks that Kinoshita is getting in Killcliff FC. So I'm gonna take the guy with the size advantage and a little hometown love. Uh, because I just again I'm not sure that Billy's gonna get the wrestling going. And I'm not sure I can bank on him to consolidate top pressure either. But I have seen some sharp people I really respect on Billy Golf, especially at plus money. So I'm hesitant. Dan, I'm again really curious what you have to say.
Yeah, I'm leaning dog or pass in this situation. I think a lot of the value is starting to trickle away for it too. Like, for me, it was kind of the wrestling, and then he's just one of those guys, Golf, who fights for your money. And it sounds like a simple thing, and I forget who, maybe it was Luca Fury who first mentioned or said that term, and it really stuck with me because when you're sweating a bet in the third round, that's when you're like, I am so glad I bet on the guy who is going to fight for your money. Because too often you're cruising for a round or two, and then the guy just kind of poops the bed, and you're hating that bet. But I don't know. I wish we were getting a little more of a payoff with it at plus 110, plus 115. I'm not quite as excited about it, but I don't know. It could be a fun fight. I probably won't end up with much action on it, if any at all.
It's so funny. The scenario you described reminded me of the Dana White Contender Series fight this week of Oben Elliott versus of Brito, and TB and I were on opposite sides for that one, and yeah, I was on Oben, and it was exactly I thought that he could wear him down and would have some sort of wrestling, but I had seen him go 30-27s. I felt that he had the cardio, and then I felt that Brito did not. But again, Kinoshita doesn't necessarily have the cardio, and Goff hasn't really been very far in any of his fights. Anyway, one decision versus Sean Lally, which was just not a very pretty sight anyway. So just tough fight. Tough fight.
Yeah, definitely. So we are moving right along the fight that everyone came for. We got Liang Na plus 390 versus JJ Aldrich at minus 520. It's a scary thing in the world where we've gotten to a point where JJ Aldrich was originally lined like minus 1,000.
She was minus 1,000.
JJ
Crazy.
minus 1,000 Aldrich.
Yeah.
versus DFS by the numbers girlfriend, the Dragon Girl, Liang Na. It's incredible. I think actually the funniest outcome for this fight would be Liang Na by submission. So I live or die by that.
She absolutely has a chance in this fight. She's a live dog, and hear me out. She comes forward with crazy barrage of pressure and pace, has zero regard for her own well-being, and she's absolutely willing to mix up the takedowns. JJ Aldridge, I don't know if it's just like the miles or maybe it's just optics. Like, I don't know. Looked like a washed fighter versus Ariane Lipski. Like, it was a really bad look. Hey, listen, maybe Ariane Lipski's better than I'm giving her credit for. But the Blanchfield fight, we all understand. Just a really bad look versus Ariane Lipski when we thought that she was going to turn the tables. And, just her wins in general just haven't been that impressive. Vanessa Demopoulos, a split decision win over Courtney Casey. Lauren Mueller hasn't fought in 6 years. Just so I got a little grandma's couch cushion on Liang Na at plus 525. All right, 525. So I got a little line value, plus 390 now. Again, like I just think that in a barn burner fight where she's just not going to respect JJ has to do something, and there's a damn good chance that the hometown hero can do something crazy. There's really no chance, and she's probably going to be on roster watch on Tuesday. But come on, baby, 525, grandma's couch cushion. JJ probably wins by decision, but come on, Liang, now let's go.
What do you
Actually,
got,
no,
Dan?
JJJ is probably going to finish it.
I like the under. I like the fight doesn't go here. Under 2.5
Yeah.
minus 175. Liang Na doesn't make it out of the second round. So what do you got here,
Yeah,
Dan?
she probably doesn't. What do you
No,
think?
that was my play. I under 2.5 and keeping an eye on doesn't go to decision. I think Na's gonna force either she's gonna find a stoppage miraculously. I don't hate the underdog play either, or she's just gonna walk into a stoppage and give one to JJ on a silver platter. I mean, there's a decent shot, obviously, and the under 2.5 is pretty chalky, but I still think it should be even chalkier. I don't see Na win or lose kind of going more than 6 or 7 minutes in this fight.
I agree. I actually really like that because, like you said, Na will fall off a cliff if she doesn't get her way. And if you haven't seen her get knocked out by Gomez Juarez, please go watch that 1 minute and 22-second fight. That was one of the best knockouts ever. Just clean. Ugh.
Life changing. Just like watching Liang Na fight. And we've got, this is it. We made it, guys. We made it to the card opener. We got Sting, Sang-Woo Choi versus Yarno Aarons, right?
Jarno?
Is it Jarno? I
I
thought it was a softie, a soft J. Is it a hard J?
It's a soft J, like yogging.
Like yogging. So I'm going Yarno. It's more fun that way. Or is it
right.
maybe it's Yarno Aarons? That's his TB nickname. Either way, I'm right. So here we go. Sang-Woo Choi, aptly named after a sword from The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Sting. You don't know that bad boy? Have you not gotten there yet, Guru? You got to keep watching Lord of the Rings. You're doing bad. Anyways, Sang-Woo Choi all the way down now to minus 166. Open as a much wider favorite. Yarno Aarons plus 140. Sang-Woo Choi. You had all the tools except for the takedown defense. Then it was like, oh my God, Sang-Woo Choi is a brand new fighter. And then it was like, oh my God, he faced Bruce Leroy, Cooley Bao, and Trezano, and things did not necessarily go so well. Choi just can't help but get into a barn burner, a firefight, and Guru so aptly was posting about, double knockdowns, but Sang-Woo Choi, while he still packs the pop, I really just don't trust his chin in any exchanges. But you look across the way, and it's Yarno Aarons, him of the 13 total fights and only 3 total knockouts, and I don't trust him to necessarily find a finish here. What is it going to be, by submission? I'm sure the line is something crazy, but I'm going to stay away here. This will be the fight where I'm like preparing myself for the rest of the night, whatever. Because I don't trust Aarons to finish Choi, but if Choi wins, I think he could do it by finish or by out voluming and going the distance, and maybe even training with Zombie. He's working on that wrestling. Because training with Zombie, I know he's not working on his head movement. That's for sure. But
Jesus, that's brutal.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Very true.
Choi, if anything, if he's going to work an offensive wrestling game plan, in the last fight, Yarno Aarons showed against William Gomez that's totally a path to victory. He of the 40% takedown defense. So Sang-Woo Choi, I imagine you're going to find a way to win. If the line closes to even money, might have to consider a sprinkle. But as it currently stands, I cannot bring myself to lay the chalk on Mr. Sting over here. So what do you got?
I don't see a reason to necessarily play the chalk on Choi, but at the same time, Yarno Evans, I'm not sure that he's even UFC caliber. Obviously had a tough fight with William Gomez, who's a decent striker, but obviously didn't want really any part of him on the feet, and just took him down. And Jarno's just a 0 off his back, but obviously that's not necessarily relevant in this fight because Sang-Woo just loves to stand and bang, to his own credit and success and his own detriment. So yeah, I really think that on a card opener, they're really just giving a chance for Sang-Woo Choi to get a win back under his belt and be again something exciting for the hometown crowd. But if anybody was gonna fuck their day up and start out the card sketchy. Might as well be Choi. Again, I'm not sure Aarons has the output either. Like, I'm just not sure he has the pace. And if Sung Woo Choi ends up just teeing off on him, it won't really matter what he's firing back. So I lean Choi. It's so rare I don't have a bet on the first fight, but like I just don't have anything on it. Like there's just nothing calling out to me. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Dan, what do you think?
No, I'm in the same boat. I kind of lean Choi, but I just can't find anything really playable. I think if he maybe starts dipping down to minus 130, minus 140, maybe it's time to take him. I just Jarno, there's nothing on his record that gets you excited. I think we've seen some signs of life in Choi, even in his losses. So I think he's the right side. I don't understand the line movement, but I hope it just keeps getting better. But totals, props, all that stuff, I'm just kind of lost on this fight.
Man, again, like when I'm lost, to find out that you're lost with me, it just makes me feel like I found the right answer. Like if I had a confident, like I feel like if I had something confident there, then again, like I wouldn't have done my job correctly. So Dan, I really appreciate. I really appreciate having you on. I know TB does do, and
I didn't appreciate it at all.
No, he didn't.
No, seriously though, no. Really, absolutely amazing time, and shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys are amazing too. We wouldn't be doing this without you, and really, it means so much that you take the time to join us on a Wednesday. I know there's PFL fights going on, so I'll give you guys a pass if you didn't make it in the live show. But please leave a comment. Please like the video. It means a lot. It helps recommend it to other viewers. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps us out so much. We're on the countdown of 500. We're at 447. So help us keep getting there. Dan, before we pass this off to the guru to close us out, any final words for the people? And thank you so much again for joining us. Let's go. Let's bring you up here.
Yeah, no problem. I really appreciate the invite. Obviously, we do a lot of MMA and boxing coverage over at Action Network. Sean Zerillo, Billy Ward, Dan Tom, so heavy hitters kind of in the MMA betting space. But no, I've been covering MMA for 15, 16 years now, but the past 4 or 5 where I get to focus just on the betting and I don't have to worry about the social media posts and the drug busts and all the crap in the sport that I hate. Just getting to watch people fight and betting on it. That's the best part of the sport. So I appreciate you giving me the platform to come on and do what I love, which is ignore all the terrible stuff in the sport and just focus on the fun stuff.
Absolutely. And we absolutely loved having you on. One of the really sharp premier minds out there, putting out free picks for everybody all the time. The Prop Squad picks, your best bets, and then just the whole laundry list of fun little things that you get to pick and choose from. I love looking at that each and every week that you post it. Yeah, just wonderful chopping up with you. I know we had tried to do it a couple times. Just really happy that we got it down, and hope one day we can do it again.
Absolutely.
Seriously, Dan, thank you so much, guys. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here. Unbelievable stuff. We're coming off a good week, man. Good Dana White Contender Series. Great pay-per-view last week. O'Malley, let's go, baby. All right, come on. Max Holloway, Korean Zombie. Last time. You can follow my unbelievable co-host, TV Scouting MMA, on Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. You can follow me, the Guru Scouting MMA, Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. We will be back next Monday, 9 p.m. for Dana White Contender Series Week 4. And then we will be back again on Wednesday, a week from now, for UFC Paris 2, right? Cyril Gane taking on Sergey Spivak. Very, very exciting. Can't wait for it. Be there or be